Well, now to a CTV News exclusive highlighting what are being called inhumane conditions in a maximum security Toronto jail. The conditions are so bad at the Toronto South Detention Centre that judges are calling for action. CTV's John Woodward with the story.
The lockdowns are horrible.
That's the voice of Dalo Robinson calling from custody. He's awaiting trial on human trafficking charges. In an interview, he described the effect of continuous lockdowns at Toronto South Detention Centre on his fellow inmates.
I've seen it slowly take away any type of humanity a person has, and it turns them into the animal.
Those conditions were repeatedly panned by judges this year and last, who slammed continuous and frequent lockdowns, cells infested with ants, cockroaches and spiders, and an infestation of mice as well as silverfish. A review by CTV News of court judgments shows at least 24 convicts had their sentences reduced last year, with judges unimpressed at conditions at Toronto South. These conditions are not humane, wrote Justice Anne Malloy in a decision in March. If the Canadian public heard that one of our citizens was being held in similar conditions in a foreign prison, especially while presumed innocent of any charges against them, they would be outraged, as they should be. And yet these dehumanizing conditions have continued unchecked and unimproved. In a case last week, Justice Brock Jones of the Ontario Court of Justice said those who suffer the greatest are often our most vulnerable citizens: the poor, socially disadvantaged, those with mental health challenges, Indigenous Canadians and racialized Canadians. It long ago reached a crisis level. Something must change, and it must begin to change now. A sentiment rejected by Ontario's Attorney General in January.
These are conditions that I think should embarrass us.
But observers warn the conditions will continue to impact cases and reduce sentences, making it much harder for the government to be tough on crime.
They're locked in a tiny space with two other people with no fresh air and no access to a phone for days and days on end.
There's rats running around in the cell.
Robinson has filed suit saying the conditions affected his medical care, claiming he was injected by a jail nurse who used a dirty needle. It was only after that incident that he was able to get out. He's now awaiting trial in Toronto East Detention Centre. John Woodward, CTV News.